we're talking about a champion that has been picked once in the NACL this
Yeah,
season,
true.
Yeah,
and you're like, she could go even sometimes. It's not good.
maybe.
It's not a good.
You,
It's not a good place to be. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Salt Mine. This is season 4, episode 5. Am I right? I got it.
believe so.
Season 4,
We
episode
have to
5.
believe, yeah.
We did it. We got on there, boys. My name's Gordo. I'm joined by TDS and Quacks this week. Welcome aboard, everybody, as we are back talking about another week of the NACL, the league with 10 teams and 8 bot lane players in it, as we have got a whole bunch of roster shuffles coming on through. But first and foremost, how's everyone doing? How have the past 2 weeks been? We took a break last week to do the NACL qualifier reveal show.
It was
Things have
fun.
been going pretty good for us, I would say. I mean, not just us as individuals, but the Salt Mine as well. For those of you who don't know, we got to do the Open Qualifier 2 reveal show, so we got to yap about those teams for a little bit. So that was incredibly fun. And in the meantime, a lot of that has been going on. A lot of NACL has been going on, and NACL makes me happy. I enjoy watching it, and boy, does it is sure to deliver every single weekend. As this was a particularly special weekend with a lot of different, I would say, upsets and a lot of different things to talk about on this episode being presented to us.
Yeah, there's quite a few things that jump immediately to the eye. From teams to just the matches in general, I think there was quite a bit of excitement. And the 2 weeks that we kind of took off, kind of funny that they didn't mean anything in general for what to expect. Because I think the only expectation right now is, yes, Dragon Steel is great.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's it.
And hey, we only took 1 week off. All right, Quacks,
Okay,
Quacks,
fair
Gromp, and I were here 2 weeks ago.
True.
We took off the 1 week for the reveal show because background on that, we found out we're doing the reveal show like 12 hours before we were going to record this
Yep.
show, and that we needed to record that at the exact same time. So sorry.
Yeah.
No,
And then
that could be our episode last
2
week.
a.m. That was a fun little recording. But the important thing is we're back now. We are here to talk about the NACL, and quite a few developments have happened, especially in the week off. Notably, I guess if we want to kind of start in order here, if we want to talk about a match first, the big one was our first match, FLYC versus Team Liquid Challengers, and very interesting series. I feel like we kind of saw the duality of Fear in that one, where we had a 50-minute game back and forth, quite literally. I feel the teams took turns throwing, and then 25-minute game 2, where FLYC just kind of looked like they were tilted from game 1 and wanted to take it seriously. They locked in and were not looking to let anybody out.
Yeah, it was really. I mean, that was an interesting game for sure, where they kind of like just mega overforce onto Philip up in the top lane and give 3 back in game 2, and that kind of just ends the whole game. So I mean, Philip Jax continues to just draw everybody in the world over towards his side of the lane or his side of the map, and kind of Team Liquid can't help themselves. They continue to maybe skip some steps here and there. You know, they don't put wards everywhere they should. For Baron setups has been a frequent issue for them, and then here they just are chasing Jax all day long, baby. He's got like 3 different ward hops and a flash in that escape, and they're just still going all the way to the inner turret, and they lose the entire game off of it. TL also having I mean, because this is our first episode in 2 weeks, TL also had that that series against Winthrop where they had to play 3 games. So I mean that it's been a weird couple weeks for Team Liquid. They do end up winning that Winthrop series, but they've been going through the grinder for the last couple weeks.
And the thing with TL is that sadly I feel like my guess from the start of the season is coming 100% true with them. My expectations for them is that they were going to ramp up into playoffs, and I 100% still believe that. Like, they are a team that right now they will look rough, they will mess up stuff that you shouldn't be messing up like that. But I'm 100% guessing that coming into playoffs they are going to be one of the top teams. Because for better for worse, for a lot of their games, they seem to be controlling a lot of the stuff that is happening. Like they are in a commanding spot for a lot of their games, and then things happen, which they are coachable. So the worst part is that they are going to become much better coming into playoffs. Like every time they have been going into playoffs, since there's an Academy League, a Challengers League that have a TL roster like this. So I have absolute hope in them that they are going to improve massively going into playoffs. But the thing is that for regular season, this is what's going to happen. Keep on having this sort of wacky games where it seems like everything is in their control and Baron happens.
I feel like I agree with that, and I feel like we are starting to see kind of shades of what to expect in this team coming into playoffs. Particularly, I felt like kind of if you want to take a note from OPGG's page right now and give like the ace to a player on the losing team, I would say Bob Jenkins or just Jenkins. I always call him Bob Jenkins because I feel like that's such a funny name.
Because you guys
in
are
my
cool
opinion.
like that.
Yeah, because I'm cool like that. I check the challenger ladder because I log on to League. He is looking really good. I would say in the top lane, like consistently, I felt like he was in control. Game number 1 on the Kennen, I swear to God, he's got like his Kennen is magic. Every time I see Jenkins on the Kennen, that's like basically I would say his secret pick. Kind of the pick that I personally know him for. He's really good on it. He had some really good slicing maelstroms. And I feel like we're going to see a lot of attention be paid up toward him because I think he's definitely been the star of some games that Team Liquid have won. And even some that they've lost, like we saw this past week. I felt like Jenkins did really well, despite the fact that there were some bumps along the road, not just with him, but with the team of Team Liquid Challengers as a whole.
Yeah. The funny thing, you know what the thing is about Jenkins, right? Is we have all these top laners in NA who are Riven one tricks, right? We have Crimson, we have Sniper, and everybody always talks about their history on Riven and how they one tricked Riven to whatever rank they got at, and now they never played anymore. The real representative of the one trick convert who comes in and still plays as champion is Jenkins, right? Jenkins was a Kennen one trick for forever in the solo queue ladder, and now actually like I think that's like right in that sweet spot. He's like right there with I said the same thing about Samek and Zoe in the preseason, and I think the Samek and Zoe thing is played out this way as well, where I think he's only gotten to play it once, but he's drawing bans on it all the time still. Is that it's like it's right in that sweet spot of like even when it's not tier 1 meta, it's still like pickable enough that you have to respect it. And I mean that's the best place for your pocket picks to slip in there, right? Because it's like it's almost a disadvantage. It's not a disadvantage to have one tricked Riven, but it's like a if you could choose
now it is.
If you could I mean that's the thing. If you're gonna have a champion that you have way more experience on than anything else that's gonna be your pocket pick, if you could choose from a clean slate what that one champion is going to be, you should not choose Riven.
Now you shouldn't. I think Riven is arguably, we don't, just to get into a little bit of a solo queue, like kind of saying here, I think Riven might actually be one of the worst top laners in the game right now, and I think Riven mains would certainly share the sentiment. Why do you even play this champion when you can play something way similar that gets the job done at 2x the efficiency, right? Like, Riven loses basically every single matchup to every meta top laner, which is why even...
I introduce you to Jax.
Jax is there. Gragas is there as well. Like even flex picks like Gragas can work. Cassante, I'm pretty sure absolutely destroys Riven. Even matchups that Riven is supposed to win, like Urgot, I would say is kind of a bit of a Mexican standoff. If Urgot goes in with his dash, Riven can just all in him. But if not, he just holds it, then Riven loses. Even in those matchups, I feel like Urgot can just straight up stat check her. So if you're looking to climb in solo queue and you're playing top lane, I can't tell you who to one trick, but I can tell you who not to one trick. And that's definitely Riven. Riven is on a short list of champions, I would say, that should get you blacklisted from solo queue.
Devil's advocate. Maybe you want to one trick it so that if you get towards the higher parts of the ladder, you can say, "Yeah, I won with this trash champion. I'm that good." See, that's the argument.
I mean, hey man,
Yeah, and I
if
mean,
you
like,
wanna,
listen, guy, we're talking about a champion that has been picked once in the NACL this
Yeah,
season,
true.
yeah,
and you're like, she could go even sometimes. And it's not good.
maybe
It's not a good.
you
It's not a good place to be.
you literally outplay to go even on that champion, which is why you don't see it. And so you will see.
Yep.
I agree with you though that like with Kennen kind of does fill that niche where it's like you said, not widely picked by tier 1 league, not widely even picked by tier 2 league, but still good enough to the point where if you have the hours on it, it can function. Like another popular AP top laner right now is like Rumble, right? And I would say Kennen doesn't necessarily have the early game all-in potential that a champion like Rumble does have, but you can still have a pretty high damage output as long as you know how to kind of min-max your auto attacks with your Qs. And that slicing maelstrom is basically like a way easier to hit and way more consistent version of the equalizer. Right? If you can get a good slicing maelstrom, you can basically win any team fight that you're involved in, especially once you get that Zonia's complete, which is a very key component of Kennen's build. So I like seeing Bob Jenkins on that pick, and I think it should get a lot more attention than it's actually getting, because every time he picks it up, it seems like he's able to kind of carry the team on his back, which is something I feel the team sorely needs. If I had to put my finger as to one issue with Team Liquid Challengers, it feels like all of their members can carry, but it feels like it's a different member every time. It's like when you go to like an ice cream shop and it's like, yeah, the ice cream is consistently good, but they give you a different flavor every single time. So it's like, yes, this is cool, but I just want my damn Oreo, right? Like, stop giving me different flavors. Stop giving me my rainbow sherbet. Just pick one flavor and enjoy it. It feels like Team Liquid Challengers struggle to do that consistently.
I can see that.
Yeah, that sounds fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, Jenkins has had a great season. I just want to shout out that one game 1 against Winthrop back in week 6, because we haven't got to talk about week 6 yet. He that's his Mundo game.
Yeah,
he has like 1200 HP from Hearthsteel alone, or Heartsteel alone.
That champ.
That was a great game. That was a party. If you want to see a big Mundo game, go check out Jenkins in that game. That was the largest Mundo I think I've gotten to see.
In a while, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think it's the largest Mundo I've gotten to see. Period. Heartsteel's not been in the game that long.
True.
And,
probably the only thing contesting him is probably Choga that has a stacked.
yeah,
Probably.
or like old school Leviathan maybe, but it's
Yup.
It's been a long time since that was a thing. Leviathan was briefly back in the game, by the way. That was the upgraded Heartsteel Ornn item name. Rest in peace.
Rip the Ornn item names. Those are so cool. Cry of the Shrieking City.
I know.
Shout out to you. You got to say them all, Gordo. Me and TDS, we're the color casters. We don't get to flaunt the really cool names.
You
That's
were
your
supposed
job.
to talk about items, man. That you had every chance. I don't.
That is true.
But you can mourn
It's fine.
alongside me. I'll let you.
I've been able to pass it, so to pass the fact that I don't remember the item names, as I'm too into the details that I forget their names.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we're going in this order, right? We opened with talking about Team Liquid versus Fear. Let's talk about the second series from that same week, which was the FlyQuest Challengers versus Blue Otter series.
Yep.
Crucial series for Blue Otter.
Which I think takes a huge series for Blue Otter. A huge series for FlyQuest. In that, here's the thing, right? If we had done an episode last week, I was getting all ready to ask like what the problem with FlyQuest is, and if this like appears to be symptomatic of some deeper problem, because they lost to Supernova. No, they didn't. They beat Supernova 2-0 pretty convincingly.
Pretty handily, yeah.
Yes, in week 6. But
they lost
they had
to DSG.
They had lost to DSG the week prior. And so we were like, are they out of the woods? Have they figured it out? Still wasn't totally convinced of the matchup against Supernova, even though it was pretty clean, especially in game number 2. And the match against Blue Otter shows that nope, those issues are alive and well. There's still some questions that need to be answered there. I want to hear your guys' takes. Where are we at on this FlyQuest team? Like, what exactly keeps going wrong?
So the thing is, I feel like it definitely isn't one issue that is plaguing this team or stopping them from having the repeat success that they did in spring. But the one thing that I noticed, especially in that series, that was kind of a night and day comparison was Bradley's champion pool in particular. Was really worrying. And this is something that I kind of envy Bradley on, because you're replacing arguably one of the best NACL prospects, or not prospects, but NACL players we'd seen in a damn long time. Quad dominated the league in spring, and so you had big shoes to fill coming into here. The thing is, though, it feels like they are expecting Bradley to be able to have the range in champion pool that Quad had, while also being able to maintain a bit of that level of skill, in which case I feel like Quad has both of those aspects turned up to a T when you compare it to Bradley. I think that the big thing is, while Bradley is really good at playing those like aggressive picks, the Tristanas, the Corkies, these favorable AD champions, even the LeBlanc, right, is kind of a signature pick of his. Yeah, it's very, very good. But when you put him on champions that are a little bit more passive, it kind of feels like he doesn't know what to do. Like there was like game 2 with the Azir was really rough for him. I felt like a lot of the team fights he had, he saved or straight up sometimes didn't even use the Emperor's Divide to try and peel for his team or try to go for those engages. It still kind of feels like he is used to playing those aggressive AD carry picks where he gets good positioning, lets everyone burn their sums, and then he goes in. With a champion like Azir, you are the go button. You are part of the engage. Your shuffle is literally one of the best tools in the game to get a fight started. And I feel like we're seeing him kind of wait to pull the trigger, almost like he is playing those Tristanas, like he is playing those Corkies. And that's something that, you can't do. So it's kind of a thing where we're trying to give him these mage picks because we're used to how Quad played, and we're used to how we can pick a mage, we can pick an aggressive AD carry in the mid lane. We can get these results regardless of pick. And now we're kind of seeing that isn't the case, right? When you put Bradley, I feel, on a more passive champion, the success rate isn't as high as something like an AD marksman, which is hotly contested still in this meta, despite countless nerfs.
So the funny part with me with the change from Bradley to Quad is that I agree in the sentiment that Bradley doesn't seem the same way or doesn't feel the same way as he was playing where he was in CCG. But I don't think it's the difference in playstyle from himself, but more so the difference in playstyle from the teams. Because I feel like when in CCG, he played like this. Like he's still playing like he was playing in CCG while in FlyQuest. And I think that's one of the biggest differences that he needs to adapt. The fact that the playstyle now changes a little bit from FlyQuest to CCG, and the from CCG to FlyQuest. And the other thing that to me has been, well, and I think there's a mix. To me, the other big impactful thing that I kind of have seen with FlyQuest, and I think it comes from the fact that they won Spring so handily, that I think that they are taking a step back in how they are going into this split, particularly. Like, I feel like they are waiting to ramp up into playoffs because they already won Spring really handily. Like, they don't need to once again win it handily. They can just win it once again here and just play it like that. But I feel like it also goes hand in hand with, I feel like one of the players that has left me with a bit more than I was expecting from him is Shaden. Like, I think Shaden has a little bit of a fall off compared to Spring, because I feel like he, at that point, he was contesting for number 1 jungler with Yuji. And at this point, it feels more so like he's there. He's doing his job, but at the same time, I don't think he's as impactful as he was in Spring. And it may be a difference of playing, obviously, with Quad, which that could be that Quad was actually calling the shots in how Yuji moved around with him. Or it could be that he simply hasn't decided to yet take the same level of impact that he had in Spring. And those are two perfectly viable options. It's just waiting to see if maybe in playoffs he wakes up once again.
Yeah. I mean, what's kind of crazy there is, and let me bring this up first, just because it's an interesting subject that you're making me think about here, TDS. I don't think Shaden's top 3 junglers this split.
Yep.
I would agree with XU entering the league. I agree with that.
And some of that's XU entering the league, but like XU, Yuji, Keel are having clearly better seasons. Yeah,
100%.
I think you could definitely debate around Keel. I agree with you, but I certainly think there is a case to be made. The thing for me with Shaden, because I agree, I feel like Shaden's had a little bit of a fall off. part of that to me is because you don't have, as strong of a mid jungle duo. The power level just is not as high. Right? Because one of the players is missing from that famed spring mid jungle duo. I think the other thing is that they don't really seem to have a direction with Shaden in what to give him, because there's times where this guy feels like he's, the carry going on things like the Nidalee. He's being super aggressive. He's constantly invading, or, maybe the Karthus or the Brand or the Zyra, your prototypical farming junglers. And they're really good at protecting him when it comes to that. And he's really good at making good tempo plays when he's on those champions. But then you have other games where they put him on the Sejuani, they put him on a facilitator. So they have been really, I feel, stretching Shaden's champ pool thin in summer, and it feels like he is less directed in summer than he was in spring. Like in spring, it felt like he had a very clear directive, right? Play around mid, play around getting objectives, and be Shaden, who is very good with his hands. In summer, it kind of feels like there are more things that are required of him, and he's being stretched a little too thin in what is needed from him in the summer. And so I feel like a sense of direction needs to be put on not just him, but the whole team is in general, because it kind of feels like they are lacking what they had in spring.
Yeah, a little bit. He is playing a lot of Sejuani compared to the field. I do agree with that. Although it feels like he's mostly been getting his kind of prio AP junglers otherwise. And then the Viego.
Yeah.
He plays the Viego more than anybody. Which, his record's 50-50 on. It's strange.
An all-right pick at
It's
the
an
moment.
all-right pick, but it's like nobody plays the
it's not the
Viego
best.
as much as Shaden does.
Yeah. It's really momentum-based.
Well, and I think that kind of feeds into... Because I'm trying to challenge a lot of my notions about Fly Challengers here, because we've been coping for too long, right? Like, this team is 4-3. Yep. They're, in a multi-way tie for third. They could end up down as low as 6th, depending on how their last couple series go. Obviously, I think they're going to beat AoE, so it really comes down.
Wouldn't that be insane though?
They still play AoE and CCG, so they might just kind of end 6-3, and and then they'll be like, maybe top 2, maybe top 3, and it'll be fine. But I still think like they've dropped too many series and too many games now to like they're at a 56% game win rate. That it's like I'm trying to challenge a lot more of my notions about FlyQuest, because they're not just like hard the best across the board super team. At least they're not playing out that way. But like, and I agree with the points about Shaden, and I agree with the points about Bradley, but I think like more so than the individual players, it's like, I mean, my current kind of read is this team just bad at team fighting? Like,
well,
because they're like the best recipe to beat them, and how Blue Otter beats them is they draft like wombo combo team fight comps, and they like force the 5-on-5. And it feels like, and maybe it's a draft thing too, but it feels like Bradley's often on the wrong page when it comes to like 5-on-5s. Like he'll get cut off from the rest of the team by a Cassante or something, and then he's like completely out of the fight a little bit more frequently than the average bear. And like their best games are like when, Bradley's on the LeBlanc and he's like assassinating people, or Surdy's ahead in the side lane and they get to play through split push, or Shaden's on Viego and he's fed and he's just like solo resetting across the fight, winning it single-handedly. And I think they're like, or Sajed does something miraculous like he does in like game 1 versus Supernova. Like he has a huge Kaisa ultimate to find and execute lens on Jinx. And like that wins them the game in game 1 versus Supernova and stuff like that. But like they need individuals to be like making these big individual outplays.
Yeah.
It feels like
they kind of need to
win
on
5-on-5s. Like when they come into 5-on-5s in a
even state,
in a parity state, it feels like their win rate is like 30%. They like lose mostly.
Which is ironic considering how they won some of their games in spring. Like a lot of their games came from team fighting supremacy, which is kind of funny to think about now. But like maybe like I don't think this has to do with quad. Not like that part particularly. I don't think it has to do with quad, because there's no way that a non-English speaking player has that much of has that much power in team fighting for English speaking players. And obviously, I don't know how much English Quad speaks, but I'm 100% sure it can't be that much that he mind
He's all
controls
right.
everyone in team
It's okay,
fighting. Yeah,
yeah.
so but I'm not expecting that he was mind controlling everyone to be playing that well in team fighting. And I'm kind of curious if it has to do with, and I'm not sure how much impact does this have, but it does go a little bit hand with the fact that remember the FlyQuest coach that was there when FlyQuest was good in spring, and then he was fired for some allegations that I remember, but were really bad.
Oh yeah, the what's his name?
I don't remember the name.
I
I
know what
know
you're
the
talking
reasons
about,
were
the
really
Osh
bad.
coach.
Yeah, exactly. So
Richard.
I don't know how much he may have been involved there. Probably not. Probably nothing. But there is a clear change before and after that period of time, which does involve Quad,
I
but at the
mean,
same time, the
yeah,
coaching may be implied as well.
yeah, folks have voiced this about Fly main.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if it was true about Fly Challengers, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't
I
discount it just because they are FlyQuest teams, but like it may be a stretch as well. Like I don't want to say that this is 100% the reason why. It may be a stretch, but I just feel it's kind of funny that both teams were impacted in such a similar manner after particularly this coach is out.
Yeah, I mean, Rocco, I think I'm pronouncing that right. Is the current coach, and he's good. Like
and he's been there all
I've
year.
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he knows what he's talking about. I certainly think that there are issues that you can't look at when you're looking at their game. Like there's something under the surface that I certainly think is making this team not gel as well as a lot of us expected to. Because you go back to our preseason rankings, and this team was unanimously first, right?
Yeah.
Like we anticipated Dragonsteel would be second, but FlyQuest would be first because of how hard they won the spring finals. And it seems like there has to be something else at play here that has made it so difficult for them to return to even a little bit of the form that they showed in spring, because a lot of the attributes that made them good are still there, but it's almost like a broken light bulb, right? Like sometimes it's flickering, but sometimes it's just straight up off, or it's just straight up going dark. Like I feel like this
Yeah.
team, the best way I could describe them is inconsistent, because sometimes we see shades of that good team fighting that we saw in spring. Sometimes we see some of those miracle plays that they can pull off with all of their players, like you said, Gordo, the stuff with Sejed. But it feels like that is too few and far between for them to actually net results that equal them being a big threat come playoffs. And I agree with you, TDS. I fully expect them to make a bit of a round trip back to somewhat decent form once playoffs starts. I think they'll definitely lock in, because I cannot see this team making it to anything less than semifinals. If this team, I would like to say that they definitely make finals, but my faith is a little bit shaky. If they make anything less than semifinals, though, I would be super, 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 super surprised. So, yeah, I'm hoping that they can return to form, but there are certainly some worrying signs. But I wanted to pivot our attention a little bit. We've been kind of naysayers on FlyQuest for a little bit. Let's be yaysayers for the big blue otters, who managed to get, like we said, a series of their life, a series of life almost for their
Importantly.
chances in
Yeah.
That
playoffs.
CCG immediately slams the door shut on a little bit again. I agree. I don't. We'll talk about this after we talk about roster changes, because I want to talk about the race for last. Because I don't think. Do you. If you get relegated, or do you win the race to last, or do you lose the race to last? Let's. This is my
You
own
get
phrasing's problem.
disqualified from the race.
Yeah, this is my phrasing's problem. We'll find out we'll talk about who we think is going to get ninth after. But yeah, I mean, Blue Otter have themselves a really solid series, though. I mean, Quacker looks like his old self a little bit. He gets a nice old Olaf game in there. I do kind of have to like. I do have to avoid just getting back into talking trash on FlyQuest, but it really does feel like they just draft like team fighty comps and get to slam FlyQuest in 5-on-5s.
Yeah.
Yep.
There
Which I
was
think
some,
it's a smart plan, honestly. Like I feel like that probably will benefit them more, trying to get over the hurdle of winning the remaining series. Because the easier the comps are, the easier it's going to be for them to actually win it out. But like,
I forgot about this. I memory hold this a little bit, but I just looked at my notes and I remembered we do also have to talk about how in game 2, Shaden's Sejuani gets 4 buffed. Five music spout
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
The forbidden technology, dude. He gets the 4-buff start.
That was something.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I have never seen that before.
I don't think I've ever seen a jungler 4-buff an MF.
It's gotta be some sort of new record, like in some way, but like I applaud the fact that they were able to play it off like that, and it also helps my point about FLYC Shaden being a little bit less than he was before.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think the player that you have to look at though in the series is definitely, to me, it was Levitate all the way. This guy had his Zeri game in particular, absolutely immaculate. They got the early grubs. They got 4 plates. He roams up to mid, gets the 5th plate, destroys the mid turret, and this Zeri is not only Thanos with all the gold that she has acquired, but also has a great team to build around a Zeri, and also got mid turret super early on, which leaves a lot more aggressive plays on the board for Blue Otter to make, and that's exactly what they did. So it really feels like, and it's been really monumental to actually see Levitate in the NACL, although they are only 2 and 5. It is good to see that they are bringing in these new players. And I have my doubts about Levitate, but I feel like those have been soundly defeated, especially with this series, because he really leveled up in this one. And I hope we get to see more of that, because if we get to see more of that Levitate, and we get to see more of this Blue Water, like you said, Quacker getting the Olaf and him being back to his old self, I can see this team actually being a potential team that throws a wrench in the playoffs. And obviously, we don't want to talk too much on playoffs, but it certainly is something to look out for in the near future.
The other thing about, like, I think the most impressive Levitate game is game 3 on the Kaisa.
That was good too.
He has some really sick games there. He gets some, like, at one point in that game, FlyQuest is up like 7k gold, and it's Levitate like finding individual picks in the mid lane on Bradley that really kind of bring them back in. And 2 to tango, that's a Bradley mistake as well, but
yeah, on LeBlanc, I don't know how you get picked.
Yeah, you're not supposed to get picked by the Kaisa on LeBlanc, but Levitate finds the ankle, he seizes the opportunity, and that's what an outplay is at the end of the day. So you got to give the credit to him as well for being able to find those chances, and I don't think every AD carry in this league does.
Yeah, you have to deliver when the moment calls for it. So, like, I'm glad the Levitate is showing up, and I have the hopes that even if Blue Water fails, Levitate will stay here, because he has been one of those guys that has won the OQs and then hasn't been able to really make the jump, even when he qualified a couple of times. So hopefully he's able to, with this sort of performances, stay at this level. And the only other thing for me with Blue is that maybe this is the sort of, like, relief that they needed to try and go against the other teams. Obviously, maybe FLYC is going to be one of the most volatile matchups that they have. But funnily enough, their next one is TLC, which is also another volatile team. Talking about volatility, so like there's a pretty good chance that they can actually win that matchup as well. And the last one would be against DSG, which they had some stuff. They do have some stuff. Yeah, so like I am actually not a disbeliever with DSG and what they are able to pull it on.
Yeah, same.
With Blue Otter.
Yeah, I think that Blue Otter, the thing that I'm looking out for when it comes to them is just their ability, I feel, to play the early game a little bit better. It feels like their biggest complaint. It feels like their biggest downtrend has always been at the start of the game. Quacker kind of gets bullied out. It feels like Levitate and Rovex aren't really able to unlock themselves, and Samikin is able to break even along with music, but it never feels like it's quite enough. They're really good at team fighting, though. I feel like I've seen some really good team fighting prowess coming from them, which is exactly what they used to beat FlyQuest, right? They used the team fight, they used that advantage, and they took it home. Now, I will say, against Team Liquid, I feel like Team Liquid's team fighting is also very good, especially when you have a top laner like Jenkins, who usually plays these big team fight champions. The Kennen, the Rumble is sometimes picked up, the Cassante is always going to be relevant. These are champions that have a lot of agency in team fights, and so I think Blue Water will definitely find their biggest struggle to be them. DSG, obviously, we'll get to the big thing about them later, but DSG have never really struck me as a big team fighting team. So if there's one team to push that advantage to, at least that you have left in your schedule, it certainly is that last week. So I'm interested to see if they can take that advantage and sort of run with it, because this series should have given them a lot of confidence into their strengths, and hopefully they realize that and just take it home over the finishing few weeks of the NACL.
Yep. I agree, though. That's, I think, possibly a mismatch up against Team Liquid, though, as I do worry about how Sammykin is going to be able to do up against Roamer. Roamer is one of the most lane-dominant mids, if not the most lane-dominant mid in NACL.
I would say he is.
Yeah, it's either... I was looking at the stats here. I mean, Spyrax is ahead in gold difference. Bradley's ahead in CS difference. Roamer tops XP difference. If you combine all of them, I mean, those guys are top 3 pretty much across the board. And, you know, Spyrax kind of has the advantage of having UG in the jungle, too. So, yeah, it's debatable, but Roamer's definitely up there, at least on eye test. And, yeah, he'll play stuff like the Jace and just absolutely ruin your mid laner's day. So that's definitely somewhere.
But is he ready for the Zoe?
I think they're going to ban the Zoe. I think they're going to ban the Zoe. I'm going to be real with you.
There we go. But is he ready for the Lux?
Is he ready for the Hwei? Honestly, I feel like Sammykin is copy pasta material. I feel like someone could definitely make a copy pasta about all of his pocket picks and make it really fun. But you know, that's a job for someone else. I already made a copy pasta this week about AoE, so my job here is done. I'm copy pasta'd out. I'm original ideas empty here. So we'll see. But I certainly think that Blue Water have a tough challenge in Team Liquid challengers ahead of them. But this win against FlyQuest definitely should have given them a much needed, I would say, confidence boost, because this is a team that I think is certainly momentum based, as we saw in OQs in the promotion league. Once they get going, it feels like it's all stars from there. So exciting to see where they go in the next few weeks, really.
Agree. So let's prepare ourselves to have that race to last conversation by giving some necessary context. So we've been gone we missed a week. So of course we have a lot to talk about here. So AoE is down NXI and Wixie. They announced their departures along with Barrick, whose arrival they never announced. So it's very confusing when they announce his departure.
And they forgot his Twitter handle.
And they forgot his Twitter handle, yes.
Well, they also messed up NXI's, no?
Yes, they also messed up NXI's.
I mean, NXI's is, like, not his actual in-game name. It's something really confusing. So I don't even blame AoE's social person for messing up with that. That's NXI's fault, in my opinion. That's, like, half his fault.
I don't know. I think if it was the only thing wrong, maybe. But I think the AoE... Twitter's been lacking. I mean, this is my refrain for forever, so I'm not going to spend too much podcast on it, but don't know how some of these orgs expect to have fans when changes occur and nothing gets said on their socials. Anyway, very excited to get the official announcement of AoE's new roster when Kangas tells it to me before the games start this weekend. So that's how we've learned about the last couple.
Yep. Yeah.
Anyway. Kangas. That aside, CCG has been running Kryra over Chad for the past couple of weeks. That'll be its own conversation that I want to have in a moment. But to finish out the list, we also just got word yesterday, we're recording this on the 31st of July, that Tomo is getting promoted up to the LCS. He will be playing on 100 Thieves, who are really dodging the question of whether Meech benched himself or whether they benched him.
They pulled an EG.
I almost call it. I think that's the XL.
Do not make that comparison. I mean, honestly, respect to 100 Thieves for recognizing that Meech's needs as a person come before his needs, or their needs as a player, and actually giving him the time to recover. If this was EG, there would be a whole ass document as to there would be investigations. I feel like you can never compare the shit that EG...
The problem is that there's no other relevant example to pull it up, so I have to call it an EG
That
because
is
there's
true.
no other
That is fair.
example to
My
pull
hope,
it up like that.
my hope is that this is not like another 2023 XL situation, where if anybody remembers, where they're like,
Yep.
VTO's having a mental health crisis and needs to step back, and then VTO retweets it. It's just like, I'm fine. They're just benching me. That was.
Yeah, that was bad.
Until this point, we haven't had a retweet. So like,
well, that's the thing.
At
It's
least
kind of they were kind of being vague in their tweets about it too. Where like Golden Glue was like, "We did our best, but we needed to make a change." And then I remember somebody I think it was Homie G or somebody reached out and asked, "Wait, so is he benching himself or are you guys benching him?" And then Golden Glue replied, "He's like, I'm referring to us getting a sub, but he like does not directly answer the question."
Do damage control. He had to do damage control. I think Golden Glue worded it kind of poorly. Obviously he's not a PR guy. He's a coach and a damn good one at that. But that certainly wasn't the way I would have phrased it. You guys are all talking about these insane Twitter things with people getting benched. I think my favorite or the most insane one was I think it was earlier this year, Giants. Or an EU team that Takui was on were playing in the finals of a tournament. And they announced that they were getting a different mid laner right before they were about to go into the game. And Takui retweets it like 5 minutes before they're on stage and just says LOL to like his replacement tweet that he didn't even know was happening. So he had to go on stage knowing he was replaced and play out that series, which is just...
That's crazy.
You cannot get much worse than that. It was so
Did
funny.
They win?
Did he leave Brazil? He was in Brazil for a bit, but I guess he must have.
I forget if they won.
But he went back to...
Yeah, that has to be the biggest like mental explode. Like if I was Takuya, I would have had like a mental explosion in that series because like they're replacing me right as we're going to finals, and they announce it while I'm literally playing.
That's wild.
All you could do is laugh. That's insane.
Yeah. Anyway, hopefully that didn't happen to Meech.
It's what we're hoping.
But that leaves DSG bot laner lists and AoE bot laner lists and AoE jungler lists because Wilson has been playing in OQs, as we all saw over the weekend, so he must be off AoE. And it leaves CCG with a little bit of a jungle competition going on, it appears. So old Cincy Fear Starforge Zav tweeted out a roster sheet yesterday, because the roster lock for the week was yesterday, of what the rosters are going to be for this week. That included such hits as Mobility playing 80 carry for AoE, along with City Witty in the jungle, because this team will do anything but run fucking Rosethorn, I guess.
Maybe Rosethorn actually just decided
I don't know what to say anymore.
Get the hell out of that.
They will do literally anything but play Rosethorn.
You know what? I actually respect Rosethorn for not playing in that mess.
If he's saying no, then yeah, that's lit.
If that actually could have pulled.
He was listed as a sub for a while, and now he's not anymore. By the way, but NXI is still listed as a sub, and they did a farewell NXI tweet. So who the hell knows what's going on anymore?
I don't know what is going on.
That aside, CCG is listing Chad as the starter. And DSG is listing Tenacity, 80 carry, and Brandini, their coach, top. This is not the first time. Let's start with that. This is not the first time that Brandini has subbed himself in upon a player on his team being promoted. It went okay on Wildcard Red. I don't know. This is a bit of a different era and a different level of play. I am a little concerned.
Yeah, and I'm also concerned about who they're sending down.
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Well, because it's supposed to be based on this. Based on this, right? It's supposed to be Tenacity, no?
Oh, yeah, that's what you mean by sending down. Yeah, Tenacity going to bot lane.
I'm of the people that believes that you can put Brandini on Ornn, and as long as he doesn't go 0-5, he can find value. I cannot say the same for Tenacity.
Yeah, Tenacity's not even the marksman top guy. He's only played the Twisted Fate. That's the only marksman top he's played all season.
Maybe Ken and AD.
Yeah.
I feel like in all seriousness though, I feel like DSG definitely have a tall task ahead of them when it comes to actually getting ninth. Because this is
they're locked. They're locked playoffs.
They're locked in.
Well,
yeah,
well,
like
they're
they are
locked. They're locked playoffs. I don't expect this team to do super duper well, but I feel like they have done good enough in the regular season to the point where they aren't going to tank their seeding a whole lot. I feel as long as they win 1 week, then they should be happy with their results.
Well, they only have one more match. Wait, no, sorry, they have two more.
No, they have two.
They have two.
They have Dragon Steel again.
Which, technically speaking, this may be their plan. They are tanking the obviously hard, like the matchup that it's obviously the hardest out of the remaining two, and the one that everyone could predict them to lose out. They are probably tanking this one and trying to wait and see if maybe they can get someone better for the AD carry position. Which I think
imagine they will try to get
someone. No, I think they are, but like my guess is I have two guesses with this. So one is they are either tanking this week to try and get someone now, or they are going to wait just before playoffs start, because at that point there's going to be OQ 80 carries open, and there's going to be LCS, some LCS, or at the very least sub LCS 80 carries open as well, because someone is going to be out of playoffs by that time. So they're probably thinking maybe they can get some of them. Or
welcome DSG Tactical. Let's go.
I assume that they're under contract until like after Worlds. That's usually how that works. But I do agree. Like, so I think it was a scramble.
So maybe we just but if 100 Thieves still aren't locked in for playoffs, right? So technically they could be waiting that if maybe 100 Thieves is out, they can just play him. Tomo, I mean. Because Tomo is technically DSG.
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like there is a very and you know, maybe David Sejnuk or however you pronounce it will have a different opinion than me. I feel like there's almost no way that 100 Thieves don't make playoffs. I really think that this is a team that, like, especially when you look at the competition, like looking at the LCS standings, I think what did we have, like 4 teams at like 2 and 5 or something like that, or 1 and 5.
Like, I think the other teams toward the bottom all look worse than 100 Thieves.
Yeah, they all look worse. Like Dignitas is having the biggest grave dig I've ever seen.
I could have told you about this. That's a losing org. That's a losing culture.
There's something in the damn blood, man. I swear. There's no way 100 Thieves don't make it. So I don't know. I think I agree with you, TDS. I think that this certainly is like a temporary band-aid on the wound of DSG. I think they should try to ideally find an 80 carry and try and get Tenacity back up to the top lane. Because I fully expect these next coming weeks to be difficult for them if they can't actually find someone to replace them. And this is a team that managed to beat FlyQuest, right? I was kind of on the come up when it came to like my enthusiasm about this team actually being able to make it far. They were really super fun to watch. They were scrappy, they were inconsistent, and that was part of the fun. Now I feel like they'll be consistently not great because of this change. So I am interested to see how it kind of plays out. But they do need to find a sub ASAP, or else I think we are in a worrying position.
So my question here now is, who are the open, like, let's say, for example, it's not Tomo, and the 80 carries open are only OQ ones, and maybe the ones that lost from, like, that are already eliminated from playoffs. Who are the best options possible for DSG that they can get? I have a name in mind, and it would be hilarious.
So my top 3 names.
Well, actually, there's 2. Yeah, sorry.
Are possible. I would say you've got a few. I would say the most likely is Array. On Dragoon's Goons. I fully expect Dragoon's Goons to probably win this next open qualifier, and that would just prove that Array is worthy to go back up to the NACL, even if it is just for the playoffs. I also think, I unironically think that if they really want to take a chance on someone they could potentially grab later down the line, assuming that DSG are, continuing down the line into the next season, you could grab Sushi. I'm not even joking. DSG's pipeline is probably one of the best in the league. If they grab Sushi, that would be very in character for them as an org to grab a young player like him.
Yeah.
He's super duper good as well. I think behind Array, probably Sushi is the best AD carry in open qualifiers. So maybe even the best. So I would like to actually see DSG maybe grab him, because I certainly think if you get him some exposure into the playoffs, we could easily see him in the NACL next year. And that's what I want, because I think this is one of the best players that we have
Agree.
currently sitting in tier 3.
I would love for Sushi to be one of the players that gets called up, but like I agree with Array. I think Array is probably, like, I would say 60 to 70% the most logical option. I think they also played already in DSG previously, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not blanking on it. They already
In
played
spring.
previously in DSG. So like
Wait, no,
it's
sorry. In spring,
already...
he was on Supernova in spring.
No,
He
I
was-
think I mean, wasn't he last year on Summer there?
No, it was
Maybe.
Meech.
No, actually, no, it was Meech.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
no. So
yeah.
no, and luckily, so he wasn't there, but he has already an ACL experience. So like, it feels like the most logical option. The other one that I think, and that could be hilarious, but it depends on a couple of things. Also, how he got out of AOE. But Wix is technically open, and I think that Wixie wouldn't be a bad option. Technically speaking, he didn't retire once again. I don't think so. So like, I feel like for open 80 carries that you can try and get that is not Array, Wixie probably is a good option to look at, especially after what happened with AOE.
Yeah.
You know who would be a really funny option? And this is super far out there. This option would make me laugh if it actually came true. Imagine they grab like Shogo or something like that, because that would be absolutely insane. I think he
Yeah.
is technically allowed to join DSG.
They need
right?
to
He
pay
still
him
is...
enough to give him a work visa, because he's on a student
Oh, they
visa.
do?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be a tall task, but I think Shogo is really good. And he is just the amount of buck wild that I think would really fit in with DSG's kind of work culture and play culture that they love to do, which is just throw all your weapons at the enemy. But that's a really far stretch. But it would be really funny if that were to happen.
I agree that Array is the most likely choice and is the most logical choice. That's gonna suck for the goons. But the thing about DSG compared to a dumpster fire like AOE is that like DSG is like, first of all, I think they pay better. And second of all, that they're like a real established like NACL org that like has talented players and has the potential to make a deeper run and is going to go to playoffs. So, and they're going to go to playoffs. They're locked for playoffs.
Yeah.
So getting to join now and, potentially retain a spot for next year on the same team, or if not, have a much better audition to be on a team next split. I think the trade-off is worth that. Whereas, like, I think AOE, if AOE offers a spot to any of the goons, they're going to say no, and they should say.
Well, they probably beat the goons, the AOE themselves. So
exactly,
like,
that's the thing.
It's
so
not
it's
even
like
worth it.
it's like you're gonna join, and then you're gonna relegate in a couple of months, and you're probably gonna be in a worse spot than you would be if you just stayed on the goons. But both in your like career-wise and in what league you're gonna be playing in. DSG's not like that though. DSG's like a real opportunity to go and play in playoffs with like a real team. As critical as we've been of the players, they're like they're a well constructed NACL team,
nice.
and they're pound for pound probably going to be stronger than a roster like the Goons, even if you do promote. Because of course, being part of a roster that promotes carries with it that baggage of having to maintain the majority of your roster coming into the next split, which is always that's an albatross that a lot of teams cannot survive, as we've seen split after split now.
It would also be kind of funny if we speculate so much about Array and all that, and then just because he's open, they get Mitch. Like, Tomo goes up, and then Mitch is like, "Okay, I'll play here just because I have time."
I don't think anybody on an LCS contract will be here, but I do think a name that you guys are also leaving out here is Lynx.
That is possible
Lynx
as well.
came back, actually.
Lynx is also around. He played in OQs with Komodo. He is also a piece that if Array wants to stay with the Goons for whatever reason, I could see them grabbing Lynx. I think like my order of likelihood would be Array, then Lynx, then Sushi.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if they grabbed anyone different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are probably the best 3 options they have.
Yeah. I don't really think that there are other AD carries really in consideration. I feel like those are the 3 like most likely. I think obviously I feel like a lot of the other AD carries in open qualifiers are either they would probably consider them either not good enough or too early in the oven for them to actually consider giving them an NACL slot. Like one player I really want to see make it far is Anori B, but this guy I still think is not technically.
I just don't know what he offers you that Sushi doesn't right now.
Yeah. And then I don't know about you guys, but I have been really high on Devin for a while, but I don't know if that's possible. I think these are 2 players that are very, very up and coming in skill, but I probably wouldn't consider them unless all 3 of the first options that we mentioned said no.
Yeah, I think they are way too down. Like they are probably the options that would be considered if the other 3 decide that there's no way that they want to, or if they don't want to offer too much money and they want to go for something pretty cheap in the process, which it would be understandable, but it would be surprising as well from DSG. I also wanted to know, like, what is the likelihood of like subs on other teams? Because I don't know how technically that works with other rosters. Like, would they be willing? Does that have to be willingness from the other teams, or do they have to actually have a contract? Like, how does
It
that
depends
work
on
with
the
others?
terms of their contract, but I mean, who are
Technically,
you?
Dragon still has Rockboom listed on the
Yeah.
roster, right? So Rockman could be an option, but I don't know how subs work, which is what I'm kind of curious.
Who do you say has Rock Boom? I don't see him on any of these lists.
He was on Dragonsteel for like 1 or 2 matches at the
he was
start.
a sub for Dragonsteel this
So
split.
that's the thing. Like, how does that
They
really
could
work?
probably
Does
get
this
Rock
still
Boom.
count?
Yeah, that's a good call out. I
Because-
didn't think about that, but I bet they
Yeah,
could.
I didn't think about Rock Boom at all, honestly, which is a bit disrespectful because that guy's crazy. Yeah, that's also an option.
But like the thing is that he's actually he appears in the or he, as far as I can tell on the Wikipedia and the thing, like he appears in the roster. So I don't know if he counts as a sub, if subs has a different like manner of working, or how do they work that process? Because obviously the easier option is just take an OQ1. But
I mean,
like,
at least
that is
according
a
to the
little
sheet that
different.
Zav sent, it looks like they don't even have Rock Boom on the roster
Oh,
anymore.
in that
So
case, it would be easier then. Yeah.
yeah,
That's disrespectful, man. Rock Boom played super good, and I
but
believe he subbed
you
in
get
the
2
first
subs
week.
and they have Iconic and Niles, so they just kept it like in the school.
I didn't even know Iconic was still playing. Honestly,
They got him. He's on there.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a coach, but yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about a player that we might actually see in the NACL next split because of his breakout performance this week. And I suppose next week he did pretty all right. Let's talk about Kryra, boys, because this guy, this child, this wonder child himself, put out quite a series
18,
this
isn't he?
week.
He's an adult now.
I mean, hey man, I'll always know Kryra as the 16-year-old Evelyn OTP before he became the superstar that has now gone into the NACL. I had my Evelyn phase in solo queue for a while. I think I one-tricked Evelyn for like the span of 3 months. And I religiously tried to watch Kryra VODs, whether it be solo queue, whether it be streamed. I would pay attention to like all of his macro movements and all of his like little patterns. So he was kind of an inspiration for me when it came to trying to climb the solo queue ladder, and it's super cool to see him finally get his NACL slot. And he did really well. I felt like after CCG presented literally the worst comp I've ever seen anywhere, they dominated game 2 and 3. So that was really cool to see, and a large part of that was a big jungle diff on the brand Zyra.
Yeah, and like, so here's the weird thing is that they're listing Chad as the starter for this upcoming week after 2 weeks of Kryra, and I'm a little confused why, because it kind of appears first of all, it's like you're at risk of not making playoffs still. You are not saved by that win. You have the lowest game win rate out of like the 3 teams in this rat race, and like Kryra low-key seems like your best player, guys. I mean, how are we? No hate to Chad, but it was not working with Chad. very
Yeah.
surprised if, and you know, maybe they're allowed to just switch between subs and starters freely, so maybe it comes, do they play Saturday or Sunday? Maybe it comes to be, oh, they don't play at all this weekend.
They don't
So
play this week, I don't think.
so they have so then maybe it doesn't even matter what they declared for the week.
I mean,
So maybe we're reading way too much into what they declared on their roster for a week that they're not even playing.
I wouldn't be surprised though if Chad starts, personally. I think I think there is definitely a world though where Chad starts the next time they play, and then they realize maybe I don't know who they're playing next.
FlyQuest.
They're playing FlyQuest. Maybe probably they lose to FlyQuest.
And their season's over, and you're getting relegated if Blue Otter wins a game.
Yeah, so it's like you're kind of putting yourself on a knife's edge, even if they do have to go into the promotion tournament, though, if they do put Kryra as a starter, I can definitely see this team surviving relegation. I think Dragoon's Goons, like 99.9% sure this team is going to replace AoE. I think there really is no question about it, unless AoE find like freaking SSW as their full starting squad. I don't think there's really a way that changes. But that last spot really is up for debate because we don't know who the second team is going to be when it's time for the promotion stage. And I certainly think that if CCG can start Kryra and keep their main squad and look how they did this week, they can take on a lot of the OQ squads and really make a decent run. And that would be big for Kryra as like a career standpoint if he could be the person that held the ship of CCG together.
I would love that storyline to come through. And honestly, looking at how CCG played, winning against Winthrop was massive, but also the fact that they will know what is needed of them coming into their last match. Because if you look at the schedule, Blue and Wu and Winthrop both play in this week, and CCG doesn't. So depending on if Winthrop loses against Supernova, which is totally possible, they now hold it on themselves to, as long as they win, they can save themselves. I think even winning a 2 or losing a 2-1 can keep them alive, depending on if Winthrop loses 2-0. Where just based on games, which is what I'm trying to look at. But like the fact that they hold or not hold, but like they will know what the result they need is before or going into that next matchup is crucial for them. And in the same manner, and I think it's a great segue going into the other team fighting for that last spot, right? Winthrop, I feel like, has one of the worst possible like weeks like one of the worst possible routes, because that loss against CCG put them in a terrible spot. They have to 100% win against Supernova now, because a lose here, especially a 2 loss, may mean that they are closer to relegation than out of it, at the very least in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm trying to run some math scenarios in the background here. So like if Blue Otter win against Frankenstein Disguised in week 9, which I think is probably what you're hoping for here, because I think your chances against Team Liquid Challengers are rough.
Agree.
Then it's like you don't even necessarily have to take a game over Team Liquid Challengers, assuming that CCG lose, because CCG are already at a lower game win percentage, and you can even catapult yourself over Winthrop if you win one of these next couple series. So it's like if you go 2-1 up against Frankenstein DSG, that makes you 9-13, and then if that becomes 9-15, so then your 9 divided by 24 is 0.375, which is still
Damn, you
better.
do that in your head?
No, I have a calculator right in front of me. I'm on a computer.
We should have kept it.
I could have lied about it, but there's no use. And then Blue Otter, or sorry, that was Blue Otter's points, and then Winthrop, even if they win one, like would be like 8-13, which is So the 8 and 13 would be better, but if they don't win a game, they could still end up falling lower.
Yeah.
So the point being, based on these next couple of results, you could shuffle these 3 in any order. It's really about what you believe their chances are of taking games, and in Blue Otter's case is series. Blue Otter has to win a series.
Yeah, they need to at least win one.
They need to win a series. If they win a series, they are probably going to beat CCG, unless CCG wins a series. But CCG would have to beat FlyQuest.
So here's the thing: in terms of opponent strength, who do you think is actually the weaker? And I think here, from all the rosters, like the weakest is DSG because they are Frankenstein right now. But the next one is FLYC.
I agree with that, I think.
I think the strongest is Supernova, obviously not only based off of standings, but the fact that they are consistent enough to not like blow up a super big lead and win a game. And then the next one is TLC because they are probably the team with the highest highs, but the lowest lows. So like, I can see them close enough, but I think Supernova is the hardest. So in that sense, Winthrop has the hardest opponent, and losing a 2-0 once again put them in the weakest spot possible. Because and this also goes for Blue. Like Blue will know 100% going into last week what they need to do to qualify, and DSG doesn't need to do anything because they already qualified. So like everything can work out against Winthrop in such a manner that probably would make a lot of make believe that I am a Winthrop hater to a certain degree. But like everything just works out that way in a sense.
Yeah.
They are in the best position right now. They have the best game win rate for now because they're 7-11. Blue Otter is 7-12. CCG 7-13. Blue Otter has 2 series to play. Everybody else has 1 series to play.
Yeah.
At least there's a fun dynamic going into the last 2 weeks.
I will say it is really actually pretty cool to see Winthrop, a team that everyone was really low on, pick it up. Like I'm gonna call all of us out for this because we were all super low.
Dude. I had them 7th.
Yeah, you had them 7th, but that's still pretty low.
They're gonna finish 7th. That's the best they could do.
But that is still good, I would say.
I still believe they are going to be 9th, by the way, but hey.
I don't know. I think the player on Winthrop that really, really, really impressed me, and he was already impressive, and I know he kind of watches the videos sometimes, is Aaron. I've been really impressed with Aaron. In fact, I think this entire split has really kind of warped my opinion on the AD carry pool in NA. I was kind of under the impression, or kind of a believer, that I thought AD carry was one of the weakest roles we had when it came to like Native American, like Native North American talent. I feel like players like Aaron, players like Levitate, hell, even OQ players like Sushi have really changed my mind. I think that it really is cool to see AD carry players step up, and I think Aaron is one of the ones leading the forefront of that opinion. So shout out to him, and shout out to Winthrop for just completely taking our expectations and shooting them out back. Save except for Gordo, who I'll let him keep his 7th place prophecy for now.
Yeah, technically speaking, Gordo was the one with I think highest.
I think he probably was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I do not feel ashamed of putting them 10th, I think it was, and I will not feel ashamed about that. I still think that they are going to the relegation tournament. Like I have full faith in Blue and CCG. And yeah, that's it. That's all I needed to add. Like I don't have any belief in Winthrop.
I think it's
wow. Right after I gave that whole spiel.
I don't think it's not even about having faith in Winthrop either. Like I think Winthrop can just like sit here and play their game, and I think all results go as they should. I think Winthrop will not relegate because, I mean, if Blue loses both their series, which still is not out of the question, Winthrop is safe. Or if like everybody just if Blue wins a series, say Blue beats DSG, and then everybody else loses their other series, Winthrop will still be above CCG. So like I think they're the closest to safe, although they aren't safe. They need a lot of specific results to happen involving upsets from both CCG and Blue Otter to be able to relegate. So I think they're
Yeah.
probably going to be fine. I think my pick to relegate would be CCG. I think my pick to end ninth is
My
CCG.
pick is CCG as well. I would say there is a world where Blue Water certainly are under threat of relegation, but I don't know. I feel like after winning against a team like FlyQuest, you definitely have to have a morale boost a little bit. I'm hoping they can take that positive mental, those good vibes that the team is already known for, and pile drive through these last couple of weeks, because I really want to see this org succeed. I think not only are they really good at propping up some really talented players like Samikin and Levitate, but they also have probably the best social game of any team in the NACL. I think that, we were talking about, you were talking earlier about AoE social, Gordo. I feel like Blue Water are the exact opposite. They put out content, they put out personality for their players. They do some really heavy lifting when it comes to making their team feel alive and having it connect with their fan base. And that's exactly what I want to stay in the NACL. So I think their chances are high, and I really want to see them stay, because I think that they're doing everything right, in my opinion. Like, as a new org that just recently promoted, I think they're doing basically everything you possibly can to succeed. They're propping up these native players. They're doing good on socials. They have a ton of shit talk and some rivalries going for them, which is always spicy. And really, what else could you possibly want from an NACL team at that point, especially with how new they are in the game? They did just win.
They did.
They just won.
They just won, but how many did they lose in a row? Like 6?
Maybe 5.
5?
Yeah, 5.
But that's not what's important at the current point, because I'm gonna cherry pick my points here.
Yeah.
Let me have this.
I largely agree. I think, I hope Blue Water stays. I really do.
Yeah.
I hope it's not them.
I agree.
All right. Well, before we wrap up here, let's end it as we started it, with flaming AoE. Let's talk about the AoE roster changes a little bit, because they don't even get to be a part of the 9th place discussion, because they are hard locked 10th.
Pretty much, like 90%.
So they're running out of players willing to play for them. They got Mobility and City Witty on the merry-go-round this week. Yep. I mean, I don't want to just dump on these guys on their way in. They're taking the shot while it's given to them.
Yeah.
We heard rumors of Mobility maybe joining that Polestar team. It looks like he has chosen to play for AoE for 2 series.
That's something that I don't understand there, actually, when thinking about all the Mobility thing, though. Because we say they are taking their shot. But, Mobility had a shot. He was Winthrop's AD carry. I don't know the inside stuff, but I feel like, as far as I can take a wild risk here, they took away Winsome, and then he said, yeah, screw it, I don't want to play here because they took my support. And then now he wants to come back. So, I just feel like, at this point, if you're going to go for that, just play the OQs like you already did in the previous plates, and then play the next one with Withrop. You're still going to be there anyway. I feel like throwing yourself into a dumpster fire of an org and trying to not even salvage them because you're already in relegation tournament. Trying to win the relegation tournament feels like one of the worst careers move you can go for, because I don't think that benefits him in the long run either. You're going to be stuck in Winthrop anyway at one point. So is that really worth it?
No, I agree. This is a really questionable career decision, I think, from Mobility. Unless AoE were offering Mobility fat stacks, which, I mean, this is a 10th place team, bro. They don't make shit. I really don't understand this decision, because you know that this team is most likely going to be hard locked 10th. There's only a couple of weeks left. I think Mobility is just kind of hoping that he can get some highlights in, maybe try to be a player that kind of shines through the darkness on this team, and sort of play that card at the end of the day. But even that, I don't think is going to work, because you only have 2 series left, right? So it's not it's not like you're going to be a Chovy variant where you are hard locked because of your team the entire split. You're going to just be hard locked because of your team for 2 weeks, right? That's definitely not the same. And I mean, the rumor about Mobility joining Polestar would have been a better career choice, in my opinion. And I don't want to tell him how to play his career, but I feel like Polestar is a team that, especially as we saw them in OQ1, was strong, right? This was a good-ass team, and they are still very good in OQ2. And I think that it was kind of a big misstep there. As for City Witty, I'm gonna be honest. I pledge or I plead ignorance on this case because I feel like City Witty was before my time. So, but I did hear from you, Gordo, that probably isn't going to change anything. So, really,
yeah, I mean, he jungled for Team Liquid first. It wasn't.
Yeah.
That whole team was kind of a mess. Don't want to pass too much judgment there. He's been playing a lot of 80 carry lately in OQs and stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think he'll be. I think he'll
question-
probably be the worst jungler in the league. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to change anything. I mean, I do think Breezy will probably be the best support Mobility has played with, at least since like Smoothie in spring 2023, where he was a sub. And I think Mobility's a better player now than he was then. So, you know, maybe there's something to look at bot lane, but I mean, I don't know. I was pretty high on Wixie for a long time, and I watched Wixie struggle with this team all year. So,
yeah,
I'm not expecting anything miraculous.
The only thing that really improved was mid lane, and that was already a thing. So, like,
yeah, Onat. I feel bad for Onat too. Like he was a player who like openly voiced his grievances about not being able to play in the NACL at the start, and then they bring him back
with weights,
but
with
only after the goddamn ship has sunk like 75% of the way. So that's kind of feels bad for him. I hope to see him still around because I think he's really talented. But my biggest question is, who does this org even run when it comes to like the promotion tournament? Because they're probably going to have to fight for their life in the promotion tournament. I think rose-tinted glasses to make this team the best it possibly can be. You probably have Onat, you probably have Mobility and Breezy. I would say you probably keep the bot side of this team and ideally get a different top side. I think Cozy is really good, but I don't know if Cozy's going to want to stay on the ship. Because I think he's got a lot of opportunities. Personally, I think he's really good. And then City Witty, he just kind of feels like a band-aid. I would be very surprised if they keep him for a promotion relegation tournament. So the question is, who the hell do they bring for those two slots that I think are most likely going to have to be filled? That's my biggest question.
We open once again the question: who is going to be willing to get here that is like under the level? Like, I feel at this point probably AoE the best thing they can do is try and recover someone that played for them before. Like maybe they try to get back Musader. In that case, could be
I doubt that,
choice, but I doubt that works. And Beric, after what happened with their socials, probably not going to be a real option. So I think they have to keep Cozy the best they can, because I think that's at the very least the better of the two players that you change. And then jungle wise, like, who do you really go for realistically?
I mean, honestly, there's a few options from OQs that I can see
like
making.
It's not that they don't go for it. Like, who's willing to go there? It's the real question that I'm trying to look at. Because I feel like junglers, like the better junglers, the promising junglers, shouldn't be going into that team at all. Like, they should stay away from there.
I think the most likely option, at least if I'm looking at like open qualifiers junglers, is maybe Will. But I feel like Will has had one too many dumpster fires that he's been involved in.
He just came off of
he's on Polestar, and this team is somewhat expected to potentially make it into the open qualifier.
Yeah, sorry, Mirage Alliance. Like, he just came off of Mirage Alliance. I would be willing to bet like he doesn't want to go to something like that again.
Yeah. So then maybe it's someone who's retired. Because I'm actually just looking at the junglers of open qualifiers here. Kisno is on Dragoon's Goons. He's gonna get promoted, so he's not going anywhere. Dardoch.
I don't think anybody on a promotion bound team should join AoE at this stage.
That's the thing. And
Yeah.
like on promotion bound teams, they won't. Now the option would be maybe to do something similar to what I was saying with Rockman, but like Chad is actually listed, and he probably will play for CSG or between Prior, so neither of the two are a viable option.
Nope.
Then there's no other jungler here apart from the 3 that you can actually go for that were already playing for your team. And I don't think you should try and go for NXI once again because that clearly didn't work. And Roster shouldn't be trying to play here, so I hope that he just completely disappeared off the radar of AOE because I think he's a good jungler, but like he shouldn't play. So
I hope he's not. That's our opinion right there, right? I hope Rosethorn doesn't join this team because I think he's a good player.
yeah, exactly. Like I like him, and I hope he doesn't join this. So the other option that I'm trying to think about maybe is they go look outside, which is an option. Don't get me wrong. Like I've been vocal about this, and I think there is players from Latin America that can try and come here because they don't know better, and being paid in dollars is actually better than being paid in their actual
You
currency.
need to get a work visa though.
AOE Jose Diodo, let's go.
Like should be the problem is that work visa. Maybe there's like Puerto Rican well, actually, if you go for a Puerto Rican jungler, technically speaking, you can play that out because he has American passport.
Is there a Puerto Rican jungler hovering
There's
around that's
absolutely
already
zero way they get someone from
I
outside NA.
I can try and look for one. There probably is one, but like that's the thing. Like your options are really, really, really tight here if you're AOE.
That's like okay. That's like saying, okay, that's like me getting like an offer to go to work for like for a job in like Shanghai, China, but it's this rug cleaning company that makes like barely enough to scrape by every single month, and I can't like fix it. So, and I also have no experience with rug cleaning. So I don't understand. No, I feel like this is almost like a trap. If you bring someone that sounds like the biggest like trap ever. Like imagine getting that email from AOE being like, "Hey, so we need a jungler for our promotion tournament. We didn't win a single game, and we've shuffled through rosters like we're playing Go Fish. Do you want to join?" You know what I would do if I got that email? I would put that in my goddamn scam folder because that does not sound real. So I really have no idea who takes this, but good luck to them. Really, good luck because
nobody that is a good
they might need it.
Yeah, just simply so it's a hard situation to be if you're AOE, but at the same time you kind of deserve it.
Yeah, I mean it's a shame, kind of, but yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat. They didn't announce their roster until like 2 seconds until the season actually started. It was very clear that they were lax in the off season and weren't able to find anything. So yeah, this is they kind of you reap what you sow, and I feel like AOE are starting to realize that. My big question is, do they like maybe try to do like a role swap thing? Do they try to get someone from tier 3? Because I really can't see anyone from tier 3 wanting to join.
Maybe they get Cupid back and put Onet in the jungle. That's actually the play.
Onet doesn't Onet jungle in CLOL?
Yeah, he played jungle for some CLOL teams now.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
I think he jungles in CLOL.
I mean, we've seen crazy stuff happen. I mean, Mirage Alliance when they had to fight for promotion relegation, that was an insane bingo card that they filled out, and I feel like somehow AOE are going to find a way to top that. So I'm, all I can say is that I'm excited as hell for this promotion tournament, baby. Let's go. Let's rev it up.
Yeah. It'll be a shame to lose such a historic org here in AOE, but I agree with the overall sentiment. I mean, I don't know that you necessarily deserve to recover from a split like this. This has been a mess. So
yeah,
there's our happy note to end the episode on. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, everybody. It's been a party. We'll try to be back next week after week number 8 of the NACL, and we're inching towards playoffs. So get excited for the playoffs primer. It's going to be a party. But until then, a couple more weeks of matches and a race to determine who's going to be 9th. Stay tuned. We will see you guys next week.